Hey there, it's Trudy here, One Grounded Angel. Thanks for being here today. I'm going to talk to you about what's coming up for the week starting September the 13th through to the 19th, 2021. And the way I'll be doing that is by shuffling card decks for each day of the week. So the aim here is not to predict what's going to happen, but just get some guidance so we can make good decisions and stay on track with our goals. And Monday's card is super appropriate for these times, sanctuary. We've had this very recently, and I love this imagery of someone being wrapped in a beautiful scarf. Very appropriate for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere as you head into the colder months. A lot of us are in lockdown, and we're being forced to really make our sanctuary, our homes, more of a sanctuary, because they are keeping us safe and keeping the community safe as well. So if you are struggling with lockdown, that might be a way to look at it as, how can I make this feel more cozy and more inviting, and to help me feel more safe here? And I've talked a lot about ways we can do that in terms of changing the energy of the home, bringing in indoor plants, crystals, depends on what's available to you, of course, depending on your restrictions, rearranging furniture, putting up photos of loved ones, lots of soft furnishings in terms of cushions and blankets and that sort of thing. So that's one way to interpret this message in a practical sense. In a more, emotional or energetic sense, it could be about you needing to really shore up your ability to feel safe. So that might be you making better decisions about things that are triggering you. So not spending time on social media, not reading the comments. I say this all the time. I still find myself doing it occasionally, but I know that I feel much better when I do not read the comments. Things like not, trying to argue with silly conspiracy theorists, not trying to, if you're not in lockdown, not trying to go to places where there is a lot of frenetic energy. And the example I always give is a shopping mall in December. Depending on what part of the world that you live. That's sort of where people are really in their stuff. They're really stressed and frantic. They are operating from the belief, I don't have enough time, money, whatever it is. That sort of energy is really provoking. So you might like to, if you're, you actually have the option of where you can spend time, avoiding places that are really triggering for you. Just choosing to spend some time inwards, some self-reflection, instead of trying to put yourself in situations that are really not making you feel good. And you can tell what's going to resonate with you. Your intuition will tell you. This might be a message for you to spend more time meditating, more time journaling. I know I bang on about journaling, but it's one of those things that's hard to start. But once you start, you feel so much better. A bit like exercise for me. I don't enjoy exercising, but I enjoy having exercised because it makes me feel good at the end. So maybe journaling's like that for you. You don't necessarily enjoy pouring out your feelings on the page, but afterwards you feel lighter, and I can certainly attest to that. What else? Yeah, I guess also you might take this time to, and particularly if you are in lockdown, to really think about, what can I focus my attention on that would be helpful for me? What are the things I can change? What are the things I want to do when I come out of lockdown? What do I want to do in the world? That's your goals, potentially. Perhaps some of you are getting prompted to change your career in some way, or maybe move. So again, trust your intuition. Tuesday's card may back that up for many of you. It's time to leave this unhealthy situation. This is a big, big message. Not often, but sometimes this card will come up for people who are booking a session with me because they want to explore a situation that they need some help, where they feel stuck. Might be a relationship. And sometimes people don't necessarily feel ready to leave just yet, but they know, they're sort of questioning, am I right to want to leave? Because there are lots of things that are good about this situation. And so a card like this would say, it's not healthy, and that's reason enough to leave. So relationships, one example. There's also a job. If you're in a job where it's just really not good for your mental well-being, your stress levels, etc., or you're just no longer being stimulated or excited or making a meaningful contribution, and the company's not investing in you in a meaningful way in terms of helping you upskill, etc., that may not necessarily fit the bill of unhealthy, but it may be also something you've outgrown, and that's what you need to think about. So there's lots of ways this could show up. It could literally mean health in a more salubrious way, I guess. If you're doing some unhealthy kind of habits, this might be time to think about leaving those behind. You know, smoking, binging, whatever it is. And no judgment, there's a lot of stress at the moment, but we can always find better ways to live or to minimise those choices as well. So that may be your focus. And no one has to do anything, of course, but often with a message like that in particular, people already know what it's about. They're like, yeah, I already kind of knew that, but I wasn't ready, or I didn't quite feel like I wanted to deal with it yet. And that's, you know, the universe going, hey, this thing that we've been prompting you through your intuition, we really are trying to urge you to do something about it now, because it is going to be for your greatest good, even though it's hard to do. And Wednesday's card here, Archangel Raphael. I may have explained this many times before, but if you're new here, Raphael is associated with healing. That can be physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, or all four. As we know, they're often connected. Also associated with travel, and not a lot of us are doing that at the moment too much, but that can be low-grade kind of local travel. And relationships, I should say, as well. So often depicted with this beautiful emerald green colour. I mentioned health in regards to this Tuesday card, so perhaps this is backing that up for you. Something about your personal health that needs your attention. Perhaps you know there's a certain food group that your body just doesn't cope with particularly well. It's caffeine for me, unfortunately. But it all just seems a little bit too hard to deal with that at the moment. And this is saying, hey, maybe this is the thing that will help you a lot. And maybe, that thing that you're doing that you know is not great for you is affecting you on lots of other different levels that you haven't thought about, your sleep, your stress, etc. And so they're trying to say, you can make better choices for yourself here, and we'll support you to do that. So don't forget to ask Raphael for help. Of course, we still need to do the work. The angels can't wave a magic wand and fix things for us. I know there is a lot of conjecture about that. I know sometimes these cards can simplify, when I read the book, can simplify and say, just ask Archangel, whoever, to fix this for you. That's not really my personal perspective. My perspective is we ask angels to support us and we do the work. My belief is that angels can't fix our problems for us, but they can certainly support us as we fix our problems, because we are the ones who are here to learn the life lessons, and that's how we do it. So certainly call on the archangels for support. They literally have nothing better to do. You may as well. And you can do that out loud or in your head. As I mentioned, Raphael associated with health, relationships, travel. Also, you could try Michael in that situation for help. He's associated with courage, and that's appropriate for so many situations, isn't it? Certainly, confidence is another thing that falls under his wheelhouse, as well as strength, protection, really good with fear stuff, which is probably undermining every single situation we face in some degree. You've also got Gabriel, who came up about 2 weeks ago, I think. And Gabriel is associated with communication and self-expression, among other things. But so those are the three that I tend to rely on, or work with the most. But there are a bunch of others as well. And if you're interested in the archangel realm, lots of information out there on Google to look that up. Trust your intuition if that's something that feels right for you. Here we have for Thursday, Awakening Ancient Wisdom. And the message here is really about the wisdom that's within you. The message says, deep inner knowing is emerging within me. So as I said earlier, your intuition is always going to be your best guide. And if you're getting prodded in some particular area or aspect from your intuition, this card could be the one that's saying, those feelings are right, trust them. It's safe to trust them. You might not necessarily know how to act on them just yet, but it's enough to recognize that that's the thing you need to be focusing on. And you can ask the angels to help give you some signs or some help, some really clear guidance on how to take those practical steps. We live in the real world. We need to be practical. And sometimes knowing we need to do a particular thing can be a little bit overwhelming if we don't on a practical level know how to start that. And the angels can certainly help us with that, as well as our spirit guides, the universe more generally. To be honest, it doesn't really matter who you talk to, as long as you're talking to the higher power in some form. Now, what else should I say about this? Now, if you're not getting any strong messages, I guess, from your intuition at the moment, this may be a flag. They do this sometimes for later down the track, that they're going to be bringing through some information to you and they want you to pay attention to it. Yeah, I think it's also about trusting yourself. This is one of the hardest things to do because often people will book sessions with me about something they actually already know, but it's hard for them to trust their judgment because they've maybe, for the sake of argument, they've grown up in a household where there was a controlling parent, or there was a parent who was volatile, or dealing with a health problem wasn't there for them. So the person was left to fend for themselves, or they had to try and compete with others for their parents' attention, or compete with work, or something like that. There was something where they had to be kind of earning what they needed. That means it's hard for them to trust that they can make decisions for themselves because they're trying to defer to someone else. That's their patterning. I'm going off on a way big tangent here. So the point I'm trying to make is there are lots of reasons we struggle to trust our own judgment. And also people often mistake intuition for fear. They're getting a fear-based response and they think it's their intuition, because it feels urgent, but that's not really our intuition, it's fear. If you've got that sense of urgency and panic, that's fear. Don't listen to that, that's intuition. I mean, I'm not saying disregard it because that's a hard thing to do, but don't mistake that for your intuition. An example I often give of this is when you're dating. This is something that happened to me all the time when I was single. Hurry up and call that person or you're going to miss out, you're going to end up single. Now, the message wasn't coming through quite that clearly, but that was the underlying feeling. Hurry up, text them back, or agree to go on the date that you don't really want to go out on because you might be making a mistake, and I'll give them another chance. You probably are wrong. You don't want to miss out on this opportunity. That sense of you're going to miss out, there's not enough time, there's not enough opportunities, hurry up. That's fear. That's, your intuition knows you've got enough time and it will gently guide you in the right direction. And I find that when I'm asking my intuition something, the first thing that jumps up is generally not my intuition. It's a fear-based, knee-jerk kind of response, like, yes, apply for that job. But then my intuition, when I sit back and think about it, is like, this isn't actually a job that would make you happy. That's another example. So anyway, big tangent. I did warn you that was happening. Coming back to Friday here, very practical here. Clear your space. Now here's another archangel. This is actually an archangel card deck, so no surprises there. This is Jophiel, associated with beauty. And that might sound like something a little bit frivolous, but I call on Archangel Jophiel when I'm struggling with really a lot of negative thoughts or a lot of fear-based thoughts, and I ask Jophiel to beautify my mind. Now, I know that sounds too simplistic to be effective, and it's not going to fix everything, but it does help elevate me a little bit so that I can make better choices about, I'm going to buy into this thought, I'm going to let this one go. It helps spur me to take better control, and it does really shift the energy. I can feel like a broom has swept through. So that's one way to use Jophiel, but this is a practical message about your space, your literal space, not your mental space, your real estate. So Jophiel might help you if you need to declutter. That's really powerful energetically as well. Shifting the energy of stuff helps shift the energy that you feel, the way you feel in the house, and you will have experienced that yourself. Now, I always urge people when it comes to declutter to be responsible. Do not throw things out that you are just going to reinvest in, and because that's not addressing the problem. If you have too much stuff, the problem is not the stuff. The problem is the reasons that you leant on the stuff or sought out the stuff to make yourself feel better. What was the deficit there? That may be a rabbit hole, so to speak, that you need to go down to really heal this, because getting rid of the stuff, you'll just accumulate it again if that's going on for you. Also, please be environmentally responsible. Don't dump everything in landfill. Try and get it used in some sustainable way if you are getting rid of stuff, as much as you can. I'm sounding a bit preachy, so I'll stop. But I talked before about changing the energy of your house, so this is really repeating that message, and maybe it's not about decluttering, maybe it's not about stuff, but again about the energy in the house. You might like to look up Feng Shui, and that's often about flow, having a good flow of energy throughout the house where things are feeling stagnant. For us in the Southern Hemisphere, really, really great timing since we are in spring, And given the year that's going on, a lot of us feeling super ready to shift the energy and have that change coming through, that lightness. That is Saturday's card here. Freya, bold. I've shared before that she is the goddess, the Nordic goddess that Friday gets its name from. So that sense of celebratory, the end of the week, let's celebrate. And so this can certainly be about having a celebration of what's good in your life. It could also be about you channeling this bold energy. You can see in your eyes, she's fierce, mate. We could all do with that, everybody. Even if it's just a more low-grade everyday problem, getting a bit bold in the way that we deal with it, setting boundaries, or moving away from something that we need to move away from, a la Tuesday's message here. Associated with cats, for those who needed that for some reason. The card says, unleash your adventurous side, take risks and be daring. So she is associated with that kind of taking risks. Now, I don't advocate for taking unnecessary risks, particularly people who are dealing with deep fear. I advocate for calculated risks, just inching ahead a little bit more. So work within what is realistic for you. I would also say she's associated with sensuality. So maybe we need to mix up our sexual repertoire, get out of a rut there, and really seek out pleasure. That's a big Freya message. And I guess as a healer, I would also say, going down that track, if there is blocks or wounding around sexual expression, that might be something you would like to heal at an energetic or emotional level. And there are lots of ways you could do that. You could seek out a coach, maybe someone who specialises in sexuality or relationships, or you could seek out a therapist, or you could go down the healer, the spiritual route, and work with someone who can help shift whatever wounding is going on there. And even if something specific hasn't happened to you to cause that reticence around owning your sexual power, there might be something going on from a past life, particularly if you're a woman. We have inherited a lot of stuff from having our sexual pleasure denied and repressed for so long. And by the way, I should say we've all been different genders in different lifetimes. If you're a woman now, it doesn't mean you've always been a woman, or if you're a man, you haven't necessarily always been a man, or if you don't identify with a gender, you can still have had different genders in past lifetimes, and we bring through that energy. Oh my goodness, that was such a massive tangent. I apologise. I hope it was helpful. Well, this ties it up quite neatly, actually. This is Sunday. Emotions. We have Saint Dymphna here, who is often associated with mental health organisations and institutions. So I like that she is holding a torch here, shining a light. And when we're really dealing with like that turmoil, those tumultuous kind of emotions, it is hard to find your way through. It is hard to see the path out. And maybe it isn't about finding the path out. It's just about finding a little bit of clarity so you can take back what is within your means to control about this situation. It's not about, letting go of all the emotions and say, just be positive or anything like that. That's not realistic. It's just about what can you do that would help you right now. And it might be about noticing that the emotions are even coming up for you. Sometimes when we've grown up in households where emotions are repressed, we don't even notice it because we're trying so hard just to pretend that everything's okay and that we're coping just like everybody else, quote unquote. And secretly everybody else is actually not coping that well either. They're just pretending. We might miss those signs that maybe we're struggling with some big emotions and we might need a little bit of help to work our way through them, because if we can't even name how we're feeling because it's so uncomfortable, it's going to be more difficult to get to the bottom of where is this coming from and where is the healing needed and what can I do to help myself. And trying to sit with those emotions is a really powerful thing to do, but that's not going to be realistic for everybody. Some people are not able to do that because the feelings feel too immense. So please use your judgment here and go with what is realistic for you. Reach out for help if you need it. And remember that we are all here to help each other. We're not here to deal with this stuff alone. No one's supposed to be walking the path alone. That Ram Dass quote that I so often bust out, we're all walking each other home. It's really important to remember in these situations. And circling back to what I mentioned earlier, journaling is so great for making sense of the emotions. Not going to solve the situation, it just lightens the load because you can get a bit of perspective instead of feeling really just like a brain fog, like that you just can't even see what head to tail. That's not making any sense either, but it just helps lighten the load a bit. And it can help you feel heard as well. I think, sometimes we feel like no one really wants to listen to us, which is not necessarily true. But if we've had experience where people have undermined us or dismissed our feelings, we can feel that way and be reluctant to even share our feelings because of that experience. But a journal is very non-judgmental, and you can feel like you've been heard, even if it's just by a piece of paper. And if it resonates with you, you can even address it to spirit. I do this sometimes. Dear spirit, I'm feeling this. I think it's because of this. I'm not sure. I feel these things. Can you help? And maybe I don't get the help, but I feel heard. Someone has borne witness to what I'm feeling. That's powerful. Okay, so let me stop talking. So we've got a couple of messages here about dealing with our space, our physical space here around the home. We've also got some messages about needing to let go of something that is not working. Might be around health, something that we're doing that's not serving us in any way. And maybe it is again about the mindset stuff, because I know that came through last week. I wonder if that's repeating for some of us, because let's face it, that's not going to be a quick fix, or it could be about the emotions as well. Needing to get some healing and figure out our way forward to actually shift this stuff instead of just letting it consume us. So, and I'm not saying, sorry, just to clarify, there's nothing wrong with you if you do let these feelings consume you. That's a perfectly normal response. It doesn't mean you're weak. We're all just doing the best we can, and this stuff is hard sometimes, particularly in the midst of a pandemic where there's so much uncertainty. So I hope this has been helpful for you. It's 21 minutes. Maybe I need to put a longer time warning on this one, but I figure people will dip in and dip out of what's helpful for them. Don't forget that the best way to get a deeper insight into one of these cards, if you feel it hasn't been explained as much as you'd like, is to look for it on Instagram when it comes up each day, or on Facebook. So my Instagram is @OneGroundedAngel, and my Facebook page is One Grounded Angel. You don't have to be on Facebook to see that. It is an open page. So you can go facebook.com/OneGroundedAngel. And often people find that by the time the day comes around, say next Saturday or Sunday, things have shifted, and the card will have a new resonance for them as well. So that's another way to look at it. Thanks for being here. Have a good week. Oh, my website, before I forget, www.onegroundedangel.com. Thanks everybody. Have a great week.